In this video, I'll show you how to get a nice finish from a rattle can. To get nice results is not hard, but there is some technique involved. It's best to get the correct color code off the car itself. You want to wipe everything down with a clean rag and some rubbing alcohol. Make sure the rag is really clean. Make sure it hasn't been used on anything else. The paint can have a little bit of a hard time sticking to a shiny surface, so if you take some 400 grit sandpaper, just knock it down just a little bit. Just take it nice and light and knock it down until it's got a consistent haze all the way across the surface. Wipe it down with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. Here you can see this has been hazed down with the sandpaper, and this is what it used to look like. If you don't have a tack cloth, you can take masking tape and just kind of roll it back on itself. You can use this tape just to drag it across the surface, and this will pick up any of the dust that's left on the surface. Shake this can up a lot more than you might think. If there is any dust that might blow up, you can take the surface you're going to be painting on and just wet it down to keep the dust down. If I'm painting in a garage, I'll usually wet down the entire garage to keep all that dust down. We're going to paint the back sides of the parts first. You want to test to make sure that the spray paint is spray painting properly. The first can wasn't working well, so I've got another one. You can see this one sprays a lot better. The very first coat that you put on will barely cover. Keep everything nice and even. You can see this first coat of paint is barely covering, and that's how you want it to look. Let it dry for about 10 minutes and put it on another coat. And test away from the part to make sure there's no splatter. The second coat will cover better. The third coat is where you make it shine, so you can add a little bit more. That's a nice even coat. We'll let that dry a little bit more before we flip it over. To check and see if it's dry, touch the paper, not the part. So this is pretty dry. Now we can turn these parts over and get the other side. On the other side, do the exact same thing. Test the can of spray paint off to the side, and then a very light coat. That's it, just a little bit. Just keep shaking up that can and wait about 10 minutes between each coat. The third coat, make it shine. After the last coat, turn the can upside down and spray it until it's clear. The color is a pretty good match, but there is an orange peel texture on the surface. There was not a lot of pressure in the can, so that's what gave that orange peel effect. We'll flatten everything out by block sanding it with 1200 grit sandpaper. Sand just until this texture is gone. Now we'll add some polishing compound. There's still a little bit of that pattern there, but you can really start to see it shine, and it's a lot flatter now. As you're working the paint, you want to make sure that you don't overwork it and burn through the corners, so be real careful with the corners. These are all polished up and ready to go in the car. Although the paint did not have as much pressure as I would like it to have, it's a little bit splotchy, but it'll work for this job.